A lot of times, as a side note, a lot of times organizations will say to us, we're not worried about change management with our people because they're excited for the change. They know these old systems suck. They know that there's a better way they could be doing their jobs. And I don't disagree with that. Most organizations say that and they mean it, and it's true. The problem is that when you dig into and start deploying the changes and you start disrupting people's lives, suddenly it's not so fun. Suddenly I'm not so excited about the change. You start talking about AI or whatever and how it's going to automate 50% of my job. Sounds good in theory. I can get behind why you'd want to automate 50% of my job, but wait, what's going to happen to my 50% of my job? You're going to automate it. Do I still have a job? What am I going to do with that 50% of the time? What about that value I provided the organization of working through all these bad systems? That's the pride I take in my job, but now you're taking that away from me. That's the sort of thing you have to think about. And so all these dimensions that we're talking about mean that strategy is more important than ever. Digital strategy will always be important and will continue to be more important. And I always tell organizations too that if you can go slow at the beginning, that's when you want to go slow. When you're planning, when you're doing your strategy, you don't want to get into analysis paralysis. That there's a difference between analysis paralysis and spinning your wheels and just being stuck versus let's go slow and let's do this at a measured pace to have a really solid plan. Let's re-engineer our processes and define our roadmap and figure out how we're going to integrate the systems, figure out how we're going to resource the project. Let's do that part slow so that later we can speed up. And if you do that, it may feel like you're going slower and you are falling behind against what you could be doing in that early stage. But long-term, you will complete your project faster and more successfully if you take that time up front to define the strategy, the roadmap, do the project planning. Those organizations that take the time to do that, again, they fall behind because they aren't starting the project right away.